Good evening. Welcome to the Hawaiʻi Neighborhood Board meeting. My name is Roberta Mayer. I represent Subdistrict 10, and I'm the chair of the Neighborhood Board for this term. I'm going to be asking the board members to please introduce themselves, starting on my far right with Chelsea.
Hello, everyone. My name is Charles Che. I'm a board member at large.
Good evening and thanks for coming. I'm Joel Brilliant and I'm a member at large.
Good evening, Elijah Lee, Subdistrict 5.
Sorry. This gentleman here is Jeffrey Jones. He's our neighborhood board assistant.
Ilsa Silvercutt, Subdistrict 1.
Samuel Wolf, Subdistrict 4, the Hahaione Valley Condo Towers.
Paige Alton, Subdistrict 11, Portlock Road and Mauna Lua Triangle, Kokokai.
Hi, I'm Holly Lyons. I am from Kauaʻi.
We have a couple of board members online. Greg, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Greg Knutson, at large, sitting in California right now.
Thanks for joining us, Greg. And Herb?
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Herb Schreiner. I'm in Subdistrict 6. Thank you.
And Elizabeth?
Aloha, Elizabeth Riley at large.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening. We have a few more board members that will be joining us, and they'll be checking in online a little bit later. Oh, here is another board member. Lisa, can you unmute yourself and introduce yourself?
Lisa Bishop at large.
Thank you. All right, we're going to be moving on with our agenda. Hopefully, we'll have a short meeting tonight. Is there anybody from the Honolulu? Oh, before we start with our status reports, I want to wish everybody a happy new year. This is our first board meeting year, and kungi fachoi to everybody in the audience and on the board. And I'd like to remind all of the board members and members of the audience that registration is open for to register for a candidacy for the neighborhood board for the next term. And there is only 3 weeks remaining for all of the board members to register your candidacy, and voting takes place online in April and May. So if there's anybody who's listening in or sitting in our audience who would like to be considered for the neighborhood board, please go online and register for the next election. Okay, is there anybody from the Honolulu Fire Department here to share their report? Not here. They did submit a written report of the statistics for the last month. And I'll wait. Maybe they might show up in a little bit. Anybody from the Honolulu Police Department? Online?
Yes, good evening. Yes, good evening. Lieutenant Miura from the Honolulu Police Department.
Welcome. Go ahead, Lieutenant.
Good evening. Happy New Year to everyone as well. I know HFD is not here. We want to wish send our condolences for the earlier loss earlier this year. Moving into the statistics, motor vehicle thefts, we had 1, burglaries, we had 6, thefts, we had 15, unauthorized entry into a motor vehicle at 22. Going into our tips, we know school has already started already, but going into January, school's back in session. A lot of people coming back from vacation, so we have to focus on pedestrian tips and traffic. Driver tips, first and foremost, look out for pedestrians who may be hidden from view by other vehicles that have stopped. Be extra vigilant for pedestrians at dawn and dusk. Anticipate the difficulties of the young children who are crossing the street. Make eye contact with drivers to ensure that they see you. Be especially careful of vehicles that are turning at intersections. Drivers may be looking out for other vehicles instead of pedestrians. And if buses or other large vehicles are blocking your view, wait for them to pass before crossing. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Are there questions for the Honolulu Police Department from either the board or members of the audience? Come on up.
Good evening. I'm Julian Lipsher, resident of Kauai High Street. This is a request for a resolution to the lieutenant. It's a traffic issue for Kauai High Street. It's a bus route. Kauai High Street runs between Kalanianaʻole Highway and Hawaii Drive. There's a double yellow line there. And for the past 7 years, following the pandemic, a commercial truck attached to a trailer has been parked on the street. And save for the one day of the Honolulu Marathon, it has not moved. My understanding of the city and county ordinance is they've got 4 hours to be, a commercial vehicle to be on the street, and then it has to be moved. Cars and buses have to veer across the yellow line into oncoming traffic. This issue has been reported been well reported to the City and County of Honolulu, the mayor's office, as well as the police department. So the request is, can there be a satisfactory resolution to this law and to better ensure public safety? So thank you for the opportunity to present this.
Hold on. Would you like HPD to respond to your question?
That'd be great.
Lieutenant, did you hear the question from this gentleman?
Yes, I did. I believe, sir, what is the cross street for that?
What's
that
the
trailer?
address or cross street again?
Well, Kauai High Street runs between a stoplight between Kalanianaʻole Highway and Hawaii Drive. It's a crescent-shaped road.
Right. The
Where
nearest
is
cross
the
street.
truck? It's closer to the Hawaii Drive intersection.
Okay.
It's near where I guess the new and improved sewage treatment facility is.
Okay. Yeah, we definitely, I'm not sure if this was the same one we were looking at before. I know some enforcement action was taken. We can do a follow-up. I know with trailer, is that like a semi-trailer? Is that what it is? Or is that just like
It's
a
a long
flatbed trailer
trailer.
with
Yes,
nothing
it
on it?
is.
Okay. Those can get a little tricky as far as, it's not like a vehicle where we can just kind of tow it kind of thing. So I'll have to go follow up exactly what it is and what type of enforcement for the police department ourselves, what we're capable of doing the quickest resolution. Sometimes like those kind of things and like boats, sometimes they can get a little bit tricky. So we'll look into it, but
Thank you. I do understand the police department doesn't have vehicles to tow trailers, and that the law requires the vehicle to be moved in order to be in compliance. When reported to District 7, it has been said that the owner moves the vehicle a matter of inches, but maybe that's the way the law allows that. But if it's still a safety hazard, so appreciate a satisfactory resolution. Thank you.
thank you.
Another question from Elizabeth or comment? Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Yes, Lieutenant, 2, please. At the Vavamalu Beach area, since last year, before November, there is a big blue bus parked there. It's sort of camped out. And it also has expired tags. There's also a vehicle there. I don't know the make or model, but I have a photograph. And I'm wondering what we could do to help you mitigate that issue, because they've been there, like I said, since like November of last year. And you drive by there now, you'll see that they're there. So that's the one issue I wanted to bring to your attention. And then the other, I wanted to ask you, Lieutenant, what could we do and we'll discuss this later, as the neighborhood board to assist you in helping enforcement relating to illegal fireworks? I know that's a loaded question, but I believe that the legislators are working on some effort. And I didn't know if HPD, and I was going to ask also the fire department, if there's anybody that we can contact that might be working with testimony to support your efforts and needs. So two questions, one about Vavamalu and reporting the derelict vehicles that are there. Did you share anything with us or give us a point of contact that we could reach out to work with HPD to assist in supporting testimony on behalf of HPD and what you guys need for illegal fireworks?
Okay, so sorry for the first one, the bus is, sorry, what area did you say it was?
Vavamalu. So if you go Sandy Beach and you go east, past Sandy Beach,
Okay,
you can't miss it. It's right there. You can't miss it. You see it from the road. Big blue bus and folks living in there.
so it's actually off of Kalani Anaole, is that where it is?
Oh yes, 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 it is.
Okay.
You know the traffic light past Sandy Beach that you could turn
Yes.
into the Kalama? It's
Yes.
ocean side of that. Ocean side of that.
Okay.
Okay.
Is it on the sand? Is that where it is?
It's on the rocky area that the cars. It's not right on the ocean, but it's where we all park.
Okay. Okay.
It's on city jurisdiction. I know that for a fact.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have the officers take a look and see if
Thank you.
long-term solution we can do with that. Regarding the fireworks issue, I believe like the department, the chief had stated, it's a multiple prong approach.
Yes.
And you know, the enforcement wise, it could go in so many different directions. To answer your question, from my standpoint as a patrol lieutenant, you know, it's us as enforcement on the street level. You know, if anybody sees violations, is to call 911. But and I know that's been said before, but at the same time, we need witnesses, you know,
Yeah.
people to provide statements, that kind of stuff. A lot of times, you know, we get calls that the fireworks is just in a general area, and then so it's a little bit difficult for that. The officers do need to, I mean, any type of, you know, again, witnesses for that information to point them out, not only the location but also the individual lighting the fireworks. Yeah.
Sure.
Everything else, of course, that's going to be a much bigger issue. As far as like the testimony, that kind of stuff, I would say my suggestion would just be to kind of stand by, see what type of legislation is going to come out, and if the testimony is going to be available for that.
Right. And my goal was to try to compel the neighborhood board for whatever lieutenant you guys need. But I guess it's at the start. So that was my question to you. And if there's somebody at the department that you think we should touch base with that might say, yeah, we're sending in testimony and the neighborhood board can support it. But I guess the board will talk about it a little bit later. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Amanda, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Chair. I just had a little bit of information to share to the trailer issue and the blue bus issue. If you'd like me to wait for my turn, I'd be happy to, or I can speak to it now while the resident is present.
Go ahead and speak to it now so we all can hear your information.
So thank you. So we do understand that this trailer has been there for quite some time. I'm hearing like 7 years or sometime around that. I think we do have a pending request to Department of Customer Services, Abandoned Vehicle Division, for an update. But I think I can say quite confidently that it's the same issue that we have with other oversized and heavy vehicles, as Lieutenant Mura had mentioned. Our tow contractor just doesn't have the ability to tow these oversized and heavy boats, as well as like trailers in these large vehicles. It's been an issue for several years that we've been bringing up with the department, and they've yet to address the situation. So we're asking for an update on the plans to possibly add another tow contract to address these types of vehicles. We do know that, like for instance, Department of Facility Maintenance, with its fleet of vehicles, does have a tow contractor for these types of vehicles. So we think it's possible. So that's something that our office is looking into further. And then for the blue bus, the same situation. So we do know it's on park land, but I'm pretty confident that it's the same reason that it's still there. So my apologies, but I'll follow up on both of those issues.
Thank you, Amanda. And for everybody's information, Amanda is the representative for our City Council Chair's office, Tommy Waters. And so her office is following up on this issue as well. So Lieutenant Muro, whatever you can do to address these vehicles and camping on the beaches, that would be greatly appreciated. And we have another hand up, Zamke.
Hi, my name is Anne-Marie. Sorry, my camera's not working properly. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. What's your name again?
My name is Anne-Marie.
Oh, yes, Anne-Marie. Okay, go ahead.
Hi. My question is for Lieutenant Miura, and it's regarding illegal fireworks. I wanted to let you know that on December 14th, when there was the boat parade, I called the Hawaiʻi substation, gave them a general area of where the fireworks were going to be. I met the police officer on site, and we saw the house where the illegal aerials and fire bombs were coming from. The officer told me that he couldn't go. We both watched the house and the aerials go up. And I said, why can't you go and sight them? And he said, I can't go over there. And I said, but we both just saw the rocket go off. We know the address. And then he said, I have to have video of the person lighting the firework if they're to enforce it. And I said, how are we supposed to have video of fireworks going off? I said, you know, this doesn't make sense. So part of what I want to do is also, how can we help HPD? But rather than having video of the person doing it, it should be the property owner's property that the illegal fireworks go off on, because that way we don't need video of an individual. And then the officer told me, my feeling is if there were gunshots going off in that house, the officer would have gone into the house. Now we know clearly that illegal fireworks kill people. And this was December 14th. And the same thing happened on New Year's, but I went to the house. I have the address. I shared it with the police officer. So can you please explain why he wasn't able to go in, on this really serious, this is community terrorism to me. I had people calling from Portlock with ashes falling on their roof. And they were afraid they were going to catch fire. This was 2 weeks before New Year's. Thank you so much. I look forward to hearing you, Lieutenant Miura.
Yeah, thank you. To answer your question, I can attest to that officer what his reasoning or his or her reasoning was to do what he or she did. Yeah, I mean that's basically the short answer. I mean, I'm not sure why the officer said that, but I mean, video would help. It's not necessary, but I can definitely bring it. I can bring it up as far as the officers. I explain to them, when we do see these type of situations, what we can and cannot do. Yeah, but again, I can't. It's fortunate. I can't attest to that officer why he or she didn't do anything further. Yeah.
Yeah, but I would say that right there, the witness is the police officer. I don't know how much further we have to go with that. The address was there. So yes, please, it would be helpful, because when I shared what happened with the police officer, who's very nice, by the way, but just didn't take any action, I was surprised. And I shared with community members who were super frustrated because our dogs were trying to run out. I almost lost my dog. Other people's dogs are going crazy. There's people who take care of kupuna, and these illegal bombs are going off. And there's later on, I know we'll get to it in community concerns, but another issue regarding this I would like to bring up as far as how can community help. But thank you, whatever you can do, but We need to move forward because it should not be an individual where to me, where the illegal fireworks and bombs go off, that property owner is responsible. And that'll cut a lot of this down. So thank you, Lieutenant Mayor, for your time.
Thank you.
Another question, Lieutenant, from Lisa Bishop, board member. Go ahead, Lisa.
Thank you. Actually, it was a question for Amanda, if I could. Amanda, you mentioned that the city the tow contract doesn't have a contractor or doesn't have the capability to tow these large vehicles.
Yes, that's correct. For the current tow contractor and the previous tow contractor, both did not have the ability to tow or to store these types of large vehicles.
Okay, so why not just find the owners? Find them. A daily
They
fee.
have been fined. Yeah,
have they
they
paid
have
the
been,
fines?
That I'm not sure of. They've been issued probably a dozen or more citations by HPD and by
$1,000 a day. I mean,
hear you.
not $5 a day. Make the fine so painful that they're going to get these vehicles. I mean, 7 years is way too long, and the city's just allowing it to happen. So if you can't find a tow company that's going to be able to tow the vehicle, just find their ass.
All right,
Thank you.
Lisa, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions for Lieutenant Mura, HPD? Yes, Paige.
My question, are we going to be discussing the fireworks later? And is Lieutenant going to be here for that discussion?
No, we are not discussing the fireworks later unless the board would like to.
Everybody keeps referring to later, so I'm wondering if I didn't see it on the agenda. I just have a question then.
It is not on the agenda, but go
Okay.
ahead with your question.
Lieutenant, I have a question for you. You said that you didn't understand, you told Anne Marie that you didn't understand why the officer did or did not do what the officer did or didn't do. And my question to you is what is the law? What, as a police officer with the Honolulu Police Department, if I call you and I say somebody's blowing off fireworks at my house, at my next door neighbors, legally, what are you required to do? And legally, what are you allowed and not allowed to do? Just so I know that calling you is either worth it or not worth it.
Well, I mean, so going into it, so basically the violation has to be observed. And so if that's why maybe the officer said the video would be helpful, but again, it's not necessary. But the violation would have to be observed by somebody as far as, like a witness, that kind of stuff. You can put out the actual individual. If the person goes into the house, that kind of stuff, it would help if any attempt for the officers, we can do an attempt to locate the individuals, that kind of stuff. Yeah. But, I mean, it's basically, it has to be observed by somebody, as far as that kind of stuff. That way we can issue the citation, and we'll take it from there. Yeah.
Okay, so aerials are illegal. I call you and I say, my next door neighbor is blowing up illegals. You send an HPD unit to my house. We walk over there and you see them lighting off illegal aerials from their driveway.
Yes. So
And what can you do? You just watched them blowing off illegal aerial fireworks. What can you do legally?
So the officer, so going off that, so the officer can issue the citation. If the officer sees that, he can issue the citation. He can take action and enforcement at that point.
And the citation is how much?
I would have to look into that. I think it's a court. I believe it's a court citation, meaning they have it's not a monetary fine. They actually have to go to court.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Lieutenant, I understand that the proposals from the chief of police is to change the actual citations, because I believe right now the observer has to be prepared to go to court to justify that they observed this infraction. And that's very difficult for the person who's bringing the charges because their neighbor knows who's making the complaint against them, and it could cause a lot of friction in the neighborhood. So I understand that there are proposals for different kinds of citations where, in fact, fines can be assessed. Is that correct?
Yes, so again, it has to be, I mean, again, that's where the difficulties are with enforcement, because people don't want to, you know, be the squeal, I guess, telling on their neighbor, that kind of stuff. But again, for us to take action enforcement, if we don't see it, take it as a crime. Fireworks, somebody lighting off illegal fireworks, it is a crime. So just like any other crime, if you go to court, if there's a witness, the witness would have to appear in court to testify based upon what was observed.
Okay, we have another comment from Elizabeth. And
Yes.
Herb, you had your hand up too, so if you'd like to say anything. Elizabeth first, and then
Thank you.
Herb.
So Lieutenant, I'm just wondering if in the case that Anne Marie brought up, hypothetically, had the officer and Anne Marie been out there and they witnessed what they saw come up from behind the fence, and I understand the officer's decision, could the officer at least have acknowledged that he was called by ringing the bell or knocking at the door and saying neighbors have contacted HPD so that the resident tempers what they're doing? Is that a
Yes.
possibility? Okay, thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Okay.
Go ahead, Herb.
I just want to say that it has been really hard for the enforcement part, but that's why everything is being worked on right now. So until that's all done, we don't know where the enforcement is going to go. So, but I agree with a lot of this stuff, but we need to focus on what's coming. And if you want to get involved with that, do some testimony, which is kind of good on the part of if it's coming out of somebody's property, then the homeowner should be responsible if they're looking at something like that. But that's just my comment. Thank you.
Okay, we'll leave this for another time. Lieutenant Mura, thank you very much for being with us tonight and for sharing all of your, all of the information.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We're going to be moving to Board of Water Supply. Iris, are you online?
Yes,
I don't
I'm
see
online.
you.
Happy New Year's.
Okay,
I
go
don't
ahead.
have a screen though. Yeah, mine's just a short report. We just want to let you know if you want to perform a home water audit. We have a water wisdom program that offers tools to help customers conserve water and detect leaks. And through this program, you can learn how to perform a water audit to ensure your fixtures and your appliances meet low flow standards and identify leaks that waste water. So go to boardofwatersupply.com/waterwisdom to watch a short video on conducting your own water audit. And you can also come down to our public service building to get a free water audit bag. That's at 630 South Beretania Street. So that's my quick announcement. And I had two questions from last month for a follow-up. Member Greg, he asked about a October main break on Honokahua Street. And he was wondering if it was from an ongoing construction or from, excuse me, if it's, ongoing construction or from the issues in the valley. So the reply I was given is we were unable to determine the cause of that October main break. There's multiple factors that lead to main breaks. So finding a root cause is problematic sometimes, yes. And member Page asked about the timeline for completion of that Kamalama Valley project. So according, if there's any estimated completion and if there's any issues that took longer to complete, that may take it longer to complete. So according to I was given the answer that according to the current schedule, this project is expected to be completed in the fourth quarter of 2025, barring any unforeseen circumstances. And of course, please look at our boardofwatersupply.com website and our social media platforms on Nextdoor and Facebook for updates. And that's so I looked online at our boardofwatersupply.com site, and it says that the current working area, they're working on the laterals. That's called Part B. So I guess that's what they're saying on that at the website, and it has a map. So if that's my responses from last meeting, and if there's any questions.
Thank you, Iris. Are there any questions for the Board of Water Supply? No questions, Iris. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Next on our agenda is the Kaiser Complex Schools. Mr. Shannon Gu, Principal of Hawaiʻi Elementary. Thank you for being here.
Good evening, Board. Thank you for having me, allowing me to present. Well, we had a great fall sports season. They finished strong, and standing out amongst all is our Kaiser Cougar football team, who finished runner-up for OIAs and also runner-up for state tournament. And they just had so many accolades, you know, as all-stars were selected. Yeah, first of all, you know, Coach of the Year, Tim Seaman, he's been doing that for many, many years. And he just brings that excellence. Defensive Player of the Year, Te Nuhiwa Santos. Also on the first team, Dylan Reyes, Caleb Hamasaki, Jesse Shinagawa, Kayakea, Pedro Hale. On the defense, Isako Saponga, Tia Nuhiwa Santos, Zane Shinkawa, Cash Kamoha. So great job. We had many on the second team as well, and also on honorable mention. I'd also like to send out a congratulations as our sports are closing up. One just finished up is our JV Lady Cougar basketball. They are OIA champions. And so I'd just like to congratulate Caitlin Chung, Amaya Gu, Lila Mora, Audrey Higa, Franny Correa, and Taylin Ifuku. What's amazing about that team is they only had 6 players and they were able to take the championship in basketball. All right. Other sports are finishing up strong: wrestling, paddling, swimming, diving, soccer, and basketball for boys and the varsity girls. And I'll give a report at the next meeting. Also, what's going on, I'm sorry, there's some redundancy there. I'll correct it for the official minutes. But we are doing, next up are spring sports, including girls flag football inaugural season. Kaiser's going through their WASC full term accreditation visit currently as we speak, January 27th to the 30th. And I'll give results next time. Student leadership at Kaiser, just so proud of them. They are planning an Aloha in Action Day. This is the second annual, and they're going to be doing it on April 19th. So all 6 Kaiser Complex schools are partnering with 50 organizations to impact the community. So please get involved, plug in with one of our schools, and it's just going to be an amazing day. Also right now, New Valley is doing their part at furthering world peace. And they are hosting Hiroshima Global Academy delegates, and they want to deepen that partnership and exchange efforts to further that peace. So thank you to New Valley. And Hawaiʻi Elementary coming up is our fun fair. It's going to be on April 26th, so please come check it out. Kamilawiki is now going through their IB, or International Baccalaureate authorization visit, reauthorization. So every 5 years they go through this, and it's a very rigorous visit, and they're going through it in the next couple of days. All right, and then Cocoa Head, they had their 70th anniversary and blue ribbon celebration, and it was held on January 17th. So congratulations to them. That's my report. Thank you, Board.
Any questions? Yes, Joel.
Thank you. I understand one of your students at Kaiser High School has been selected for U.S. Military Academy appointment.
Yes, I got some unofficial word, but I will have a full report of that maybe the next month's meeting. Just high accolades. Awesome. Thank you for letting us know.
I also volunteer on the school community council, And we did meet, parents and community members did meet with the accreditation team yesterday. And anybody who is interested, the accreditation team will be presenting some highlights of their report to the faculty on Thursday afternoon. So I think that meeting is open to whoever wants to attend.
Thank you so much for your service and
But
helping
the
us.
community was and the parents were very positive about the school and the spirit and everything. So I think that's wonderful.
Terrific.
Hey, thank you so much, Mr. Gu, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, board, for all
We
your
always
support.
appreciate being able to meet here.
Wow.
The fire department did not come, but they did send a written report. And so let me very quickly run through some of the statistics for the audience. There was one structure fire and 6 activated alarms where there was no fire. There were 92 medical emergencies that they responded to, 2 motor vehicle crash collisions, 1 mountain rescue, and 2 ocean rescues. And their safety tip for the month for everyone is appliance and electrical safety. Some tips: electrical work should only be performed by a qualified electrician. Check your electrical cords. If they are cracked or damaged, replace them. Do not overload wall outlets or power strips, and use certified power strips that meet safety standards. Extension cords should not be used long-term. They are designed for temporary use only. For more information, safety tips, and checklists, you can visit fire.honolulu.gov for that information. I also noticed that our State Transportation Division representative is online, Galen Wong. Galen, do you have anything that you would like to share with the board about what's happening in state transportation? Maybe later. I kind of caught him unawares. He's muted. All right. Moving on to community announcements. Announcements from the board or members of the audience.
Hello.
Oh, Galen. Hi. Do you have anything that you'd like to share with us? Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we
Hello?
can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just nothing to report other than just to let you announce that Brian Kimura, the one that was helping with the um traffic stuff, traffic improvements and stuff like that, he's retired. He just retired in December, so he's no longer with the department, and I would have to speak to another person to take care of that kind of things from now on. So if anytime you guys need something else, I would have to contact the person's name is Kevin McMorrow. He's in he took over Brian Kimura's position.
Well, we're going to miss Brian. He followed up very quickly on the Portlock Road exit. And he was going to be looking at the exits from the Coco Marina Shopping Center onto Kalanaʻaʻole Highway. So we might want to have someone follow up on that to see whether or not they're actually going to be studying that issue and whether they have any recommendations for us.
Yeah, I'll communicate with Kevin and follow up on all the things that Brian left off with and did, and he can continue on whatever Brian took care of.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Community announcements. Elizabeth, go ahead first.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to let the general public know that next Saturday at 9 a.m. from 9 to 10:30 at the Hale, the Manulua Hale of Hawaiʻi Drive at Havea Heiau, Kiavava Wetland, we have a talk story with Mahi Lapierre, and it's talking about our beloved niu, the coconut trees. So he'll be talking about it from a cultural and historical approach, and we'll also touch a little bit on the current issues of the coconut tree. So again, it's 9 to 10:30. It's free. And to learn more or to RSVP, you go to lhkh.org, and you can download the flyer and learn a little bit more. Thank you.
Elizabeth, what is the date?
February the 1st.
Thank you.
And then I guess if I may just plug, this is a reminder that we're going to continue with the second Saturdays of every month at that same property, Havea Heiau and Kiavava Wetland. We open up the gates every second Saturday at 8 a.m. Welcome the public in to learn about that space, as well as Malama the Aina. And so again, you can go to lhkh.org and RSVP and learn more about the second Saturday opportunities for community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other community announcements? Michael, come on up to the mic.
Good evening, board.
And could you introduce yourself and your organization?
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. My name is Michael Garrison. I am the owner of Hawaiʻi Running Lab. It's a coaching company. And then this last fall, we decided to do a couple things brand new for us. We now teach classes at 2 of the local elementary schools. This is one of them here. And we also had our first ever live event, the Hawaii Kai Mile. You may or may not have seen it. It was on November 2nd. It started at the Hawaii Kai Skate Park and finished in front of Kaiser High School. So 1 mile, we wanted to design an event that the elementary school kids, junior high kids, kapuna, everybody could kind of come out and participate in. We had 148 finishers, 63 of which were under 17 years old. We ran it off, it's at 7 in the morning. GP roadways is we have 1 lane closed on the Kaiser High School side. And we had a staggered start, 1 minute apart. So the kids kind of had their own self-selected, get on the starting line and then chased a lot of the grownups. We had 5 HPD out there blocking making sure the intersections were all set. And fantastic events. We're now doing it twice a year to kind of line up with our elementary school classes. Our next one is set for March 29th. It'll start at 7 a.m. That 1 lane closure through GP roadways should start about 6 a.m. And we had GP roadways actually following the last runner. Our last runner was 21:26, and our fastest runner was 4 minutes and 20 seconds. So it was a ton of fun, kind of a fun for everybody. Wanted to come let you guys all know there's some flyers there on the table there. There's more information at hawaiikaimile.com. And if you have any questions at all, I'm here to answer anything at all.
Any questions for Michael? Board members? So Michael, is the plan to do this on approximately March 29th and November
Yes.
4th, twice a year?
Yeah, we're looking at twice a year.
And these are on Saturday mornings?
Yeah, Saturday mornings, it fits really well with the sports schedule on Saturdays. So we're kind of in between, spring, winter, and then it's kind of the end of the season for November. So trying to fit that in where it fits nice with the local sports schedule.
Thank you very much for sharing that with us.
Perfect. Thank you. You guys have a nice evening.
Thank you. Any other community announcements? All right. Are there any public generated issues? These are concerns that are not on our agenda, but the public would like to bring to our attention. No? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, Elizabeth, your hand up. Go ahead. And followed by Anne Marie.
Thank you, Chair Mayor. Yes, I want to bring up officially the issue of illegal fireworks and recognizing that our elected officials are working now, as Herb had mentioned, on some new potential laws. And I was hoping that the board would consider putting this on the agenda And I think we'd go nuts if we were to try to figure out who's writing what bill. But for the board to consider, perhaps next month, looking at a resolution that simply says that the board supports HFD and HPD in their efforts relating to improving or protecting us from illegal fireworks. The point is it'd be nice to be able to send that in when we find out when HFD and HPD is sending in their testimony, so that we have something that just says we support their needs. That's just my thought. I don't know any other way that we can possibly do it to support them. Thank you.
Yes, Paige?
I think that's a great idea, Elizabeth, but my concern is that I don't want to say I'm going to support something when we don't know what they want. They obviously have issues. HPD has got issues as to what they can do and what they can't do. They don't all seem to be on the same page, obviously, with Anne Marie's situation. And I'd like to see HPD and HFD on the same page as far as how they're going to deal with these crimes, because they are crimes. And we know that because fireworks are illegal. So my concern is saying, having a blanket resolution out there saying we support you when we don't know what they want yet. So I'm just concerned about that. I do support the illegality of fireworks. I just want to know what they want before I say, yeah, I support you.
All right, Anne Marie, you had a comment?
Yes, it was also regarding the illegal fireworks. And it's a way of asking the neighborhood board for their help in working with the Hawaiʻi Marina Association, because they have security guards on boats. And when this activity happened on the 14th, there were people who saw the different homes where this came up on the marina. And if the Marina Association could work with our neighborhood board and our community to help stop this behavior, I understand, and I actually support Elizabeth and what she's trying to do with the board, because if we can show movement in our community, but not only at the top level asking HPD and HFD, but right in our own community asking entities that can help, the neighborhood board, the community association, how can we communicate as neighbors? And the thing is, do you want to have to go to court and talk about your neighbor? Those are difficult situations, and we need to address that. But if we can have help from the Marina Association that comes from an authority that's there to protect us, I think that would be a great thing to do. So I ask the board for your help in consideration of reaching out to the Marina Association. And as a community member, I support the board putting together a resolution of support for HFD and HPD. Thank you.
I'll tell you what, let me do a little bit of research as to what the new proposals are being developed by the chief of police and the city attorney. And maybe we can bring something to the board to actually look at to see whether or not we can provide support to those efforts. Would that be helpful?
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Okay, so that may be on our next agenda as soon as I get some information. Any other public generated issues? If not, we're going to be moving on to our presentation tonight. I'd like to welcome Cheryl Park, our presenter, on a proposed resolution of appreciation for contributions of Fujitsu Limited and the Japan America Institute of Management Sciences to the Hawaiʻi community. Cheryl, thank you for coming, and go ahead.
Thank you. As you said, my name is Cheryl Park, and I'm a member of the newly formed grassroots organization called Hawaiʻi Advocates for Respectful Development, or HARD. Several of us spoke at the board's last meeting in November because we are concerned about Kamehameha School, Bishop Estates plans for the land leases underlying the properties Mauka of Hawaiʻi Drive between Hahaione and Pepeakeo streets, which is basically right next to the school and Village Green. This area constitutes the main ocean view plain for Hawaiʻi Valley and is bounded by the only two streets providing vehicular access to our valley. We are continuing to circulate a petition that asks KSBE to preserve the James property and its trees, as well as prevent more intensive development of the commercial properties in the viewplain area that would increase traffic and have many other adverse consequences. There are people today, and I'm asking them to raise their hands, who have a petition that if you're interested, you can sign, as well as provide your contact information so that we can keep in touch with you and provide you with updates. Tonight, however, this resolution is a resolution of appreciation for James and Fujitsu. James stands for the Japan America Institute for Management Sciences. And this property is located at 6660 Hawaiʻi Kai Drive, next to the drainage canal on Hahaione Street. The resolution speaks for itself in describing how much Fujitsu and James have donated to Hawaii and our community since 1972, when James was first formed by Fujitsu as a nonprofit educational corporation that was a pioneer in intercultural postgraduate management education in the Asia Pacific region. For over half a century, James provided cross-cultural business seminars and education to over 20,000 participants from over 50 countries and contributed to the $2 billion per year edutourism industry in Hawaii. And it helped raise the state's international standing throughout Asia Pacific. But in October of 2024, James was dissolved as a Hawaii nonprofit corporation. Nevertheless, Fujitsu and James' legacy in Hawaii will continue with its generous $477,000 monetary donation that it made to the University of Hawaii last year to create new programs and an endowment fund that will foster education and leadership development, especially in the Asia Pacific region. An international preschool is still operating in part of the building, and Fujitsu is now winding down the operations there before its land lease with KSBE expires in 2028. We hope, however, that its physical legacy in the form of its serene and sturdy building and the gorgeous grove of trees surrounding it will continue in Hawaii Kai even after the lease expires and a new lessee is selected. In the meantime, Fujitsu continues to maintain and improve the building, which it completed in 1973 at a cost then of $2.1 million, which would cost $18 million or more today if KSBE were to build a similar building. Fujitsu also provided James with over $50 million in uninflated dollars over these past 50 years for operating expenses, and it continues to maintain the property at a cost of about $90,000 per year. Just last week, they paved the main driveway and part of the parking lot. Other improvements are planned for the building itself, which I recently toured and found to be in excellent condition with awesome views from the windows that look directly into the large monkey pod trees surrounding the building. There are at least 24 large monkey pod trees that surround and shelter the building, in addition to about 30 smaller trees. One study has estimated that one mature monkey pod with a crown diameter of 49 feet absorbed 28.5 metric tons of carbon dioxide annually. So say 24 trees by 28.5 would be at least 684 metric tons of carbon sequestered each year by some of those trees at James. At the last meeting, I submitted to this board a Hawaii Business article that discussed the federal government's grant of $42.6 million to expand Hawaii's urban canopy due to the importance of trees in combating global warming and the other benefits that they provide, which include an increase in property values for surrounding communities and a reduction of noise and air pollution. The James signs have been removed from and around the building and will be displayed at the Fujitsu Museum in Japan, probably along with decades-old certificates of appreciation from past mayors and governors that I saw had been framed and displayed at James. For all that Fujitsu and James have quietly done for Hawaii and Hawaii, I hope that this board will honor them with a resolution of appreciation that could also be proudly displayed in the Fujitsu Museum in Japan. Thank you for considering the resolution. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Cheryl. Questions of the board? Yes, starting with Chelsea.
Thank you so much for a great briefing and historical overview. Just curious, as you recited and recounted all the contributions, and now with the lease that's coming to an end, does your organization have some sort of an idea or desire that you can express to Kamehameha Schools about type of tenant who will succeed and any other additional challenges? Because building as good as it is, it'll always fall apart. The surrounding areas will fall apart, and so really, is there a plan that you have to engage with Kamehameha Schools? Curious.
Well, first of all, we don't know what Kamehameha Schools intends to do with it, although we have asked to participate in their planning process. But as you know from their presentation last meeting, they don't have a current plan. And oftentimes by the time we learn of any development, they've already sold that property to a developer. And we're behind the 8 ball. So I don't know what their current plans are, but I would encourage someone, maybe even a governmental entity, to purchase or lease that property, because it is ideally located like next to the park, right behind it, right next to us, and this elementary school, and continue to provide some kind of educational services or community-oriented services. And at the last meeting, there was a church that expressed some interest, but I'm not sure if they are going forward on it. Hoping that maybe there's some kind of private benefactor that loves trees and wants to donate a bunch of money to help support, that entity. I don't know, and James doesn't know either. All they're doing for now is really trying to maintain the property and turn it over in good condition to Bishop Estate. And I think it would be a tremendous asset for Bishop Estate. What we don't want to see there is something that would totally increase or change the character of this neighborhood, which is a very quiet residential community. And to have something that would be loud and noisy during the night or lots of traffic during the day would be very not in keeping with the current character of our neighborhood and could actually jeopardize the safety and health and well-being of our community. Because with only 2 access points in and out of Hawaii Valley, any increased development in that area right there is going to tremendously impact traffic, for one thing, So we're keeping an eye on what's going on. We certainly do not want a high rise to be blocking the view planes of, all the people that live in the valley. And from our understanding, Kaiser developed the condos in Hawaii to deliberately be built against the mountains so that they would not block the view plane. These properties that I'm talking about, 3 commercial properties, are right smack dab in the middle of the view plane, not against the mountains, and would impact everybody's view planes in the valley.
All right, questions, starting with Paige and then Elizabeth.
Thank you for your presentation. I'm going to be The voice you don't want to hear. Kamehameha Schools doesn't care what you want. So my question is, what is the zoning on that property right now?
It's C3 commercial.
Which is what?
Commercial.
So
they're
it
all
so only commercial, there can be no residential?
No, I think anything else can go in there. I'm not sure. I'm not a zoning expert.
The only reason I'm asking is because the fight is usually about the zoning. If they can't get the zoning changed, they can't do what they want.
Yeah.
Kamehameha Schools wants property that's going to give them an income. A park's not going to do it. And they've proven over and over again by their show at our last meeting in November, their show at other meetings that we've had on properties that they've spoken to us about, and they want to do this and they want to do that. They don't care what we want as a community. They want to make money. And when they get the horns off the bull, that's when they start backing off a little bit. So the fight is really about the zoning. Can they do what they want to do? If they have the zoning now, they can sell it to a developer, and a developer also doesn't care what you want.
Right.
They might be like, oh yeah, look at the fight we had with Hawaiʻi. That was over 15 years in the making with Hawaiʻi, which is now 7,000 Hawaiʻi Drive. But we fought for years on those developments. We don't want it out to the street. We would really like it to do this, but we knew they were going to do what they wanted to do eventually. So it's not so much working with them. It's letting them know that as a community, we're not in support of what it is they want. But if you can stop it at the zoning level, I don't know what C3 means. If it has to be commercial, or if that means they can build a 40-story tower.
No, I don't think they can build a 40-story tower.
I'm exaggerating, but I'm saying they could build a 10-story, office building or a 10-story apartment complex. They could do it. If they have the zoning, that might be exactly what they're looking for. There's a huge push in the government right now for affordable housing. They want everybody to have affordable housing. So if they make that promise to the state, which is what they did at 7,000 Hawaiʻi Drive, they could very easily get the go-ahead. So you have to find out where your fight is. But going to Kamehameha Schools and saying, we really want a park,
No.
they don't care if you want a park. I'm being the negative voice because they've proven that to us many, many times over. It's sad, but it's true. So I think that this is great. I know the James property well. I've been there many, many times for different things. And it is a huge asset to the community of Hawaiʻi, not just Hahaiʻi Valley. So I think keeping it in some sort of form education center, something maybe connected with the school would be great. I don't have an answer. I apologize for being the negative voice, but I see a fight coming again.
And exactly, I agree. Personally, I agree with a lot of what you said. And that's why even before knowing what they're going to do, we are starting to organize, and we will be asking Representative Ward to put our petition online on his website so that we can get thousands of signatures, much more than what we have currently. After all, we're a grassroots. We don't have any money. We just started. We started back in November, like days before this meeting, this board's meeting. But we're going to do what we can to have our voices heard, because we are heartened by Elizabeth Riley's efforts, who got thousands of community members or citizens to help mobilize and save our Kaiwi coastline, as well as the we call halal down the street. And we know that community opposition did serve to help stop development on the Great Lawn. So by mobilizing early with a lot of people helping us, we're hoping that we can at least save that building, which is half of the viewplane, and not have it bulged down and built up over. And then also try to manage what types of activities go in there so that you don't have all of the problems of increased traffic and commercialization.
Again, that your fight is on the zoning. You need to look at the zoning first and see what it is, what it allows, what it doesn't allow. And then that's where you start.
Well, it's not only the zoning though, because you have to look at variances. Because the zoning might allow up to a certain height, and then they go in for variances and they go higher. And that's where we as a community have to be vigilant and say, we don't want any of that, period.
All right, moving on, Elizabeth, go ahead.
Cheryl, fabulous presentation. Thank you so much. I was just fascinated with the trees, the canopy, and I was hoping you might share that with Chair Mayor to share that back with us. And then I also want to mention, for folks who may not know, the Mana'oku are out here in Hahione. You can see them in the large tree canopies that you have outside the Manoluan. And we're just really excited to know that we have them out this way. And I was just speaking with the Audubon Society about it yesterday, and Hawaii Conservation Council for Hawaii about the Mana'oku being out this way. Phenomenal, really great. So I'm really interested in your data about the tree canopy. And if perhaps you would share that with Chair Mayor, she could share that with us. And then another thing I want to share, that this is something that I had heard years ago, that when Foodland had lost their location, they were asked about Kalama Valley, but that they had eyed that location, that they want that location. So from a commercial standpoint and leasing, my understanding had always been, and a lot of people know this, that Foodland has vied and really want that area. The question is it appropriate? Because for many different reasons, this is a very quiet area that goes dark at night, with the exception of the 7-Eleven. But just thought I'd remind everybody that Foodland has been very public about wanting that area. So thought I'd share that with you too. Thank you. Thank you, Cheryl. And please share your info with Chair Mayor.
Okay, thank you so much.
Just one comment, Elizabeth. I did get a hard copy of that article from Cheryl. But
Thank you.
If you do have it digitally, that would be great, so I could share it by
Yeah,
email.
and I've done other research, about this, so my information from my other research as well. Thank you.
Other comments? Yes, Sam?
Yeah, thank you for such a wonderful presentation, Cheryl, and congratulations to you and all the members of HARD for a successful start. I think it's very important that we acknowledge the longstanding relationship that Fujitsu and James have had with Hawaii Kai and Hawaii at large. And so I think this is a fantastic resolution to commend them for their many years of service and continued service to keeping that relationship strong. So I hope the board will support this resolution.
Thank you. That's what I hope too. I just want, they're not involved in what happens in the future, like you said, but we want through this resolution to acknowledge and thank them for what they've done for over 50 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. Yes, Sam?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we vote on this resolution and support.
All right, we have a motion by Sam and a second by Paige that we approve the resolution to support Fujitsu Limited and the Japan America Institute of Management Sciences. Any questions, comments from board members? Are you ready for the vote? All right, I'm going to ask Jeffrey to call the roll.
Okay, so I'll go down the order in which I have. Please use your microphone for your voting. When I call you, if you're online, please unmute your microphone. Board member, we'll do online first. Okay, we'll do with Chair Mayor's request, we'll do the online board members first. Board member Knudsen,
Yes.
board member Riley,
Yes.
board member Bishop,
Yes.
board member Schreiner,
Yes.
and then we'll go to the in-person board members, board member Lyons,
Yes.
board member Che,
Yes.
board member Brilliant,
Yes.
board member Lee,
Yes.
board member Silvercroft,
Yes.
board member Wolf,
Yes.
board member Alton,
Yes.
and Chair Mayor. That completes the vote. Quorum was made for the vote. It was unanimous across the board. The board has adopted the resolution.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Cheryl, for your presentation. And members of the audience for coming out tonight. You have a comment, Tim? Come on up to the microphone.
I am. Thank you. My name is Tom Cooper. I'm part of the group called HARD, but I'm also your neighbor, your friend, colleague, parent, grandparent, and so forth. When we spoke to Gene Ward, who's strongly supporting us, Gene may be soon tonight or his representative, we asked these questions because, Paige, we're not naive. We understand exactly what you're talking about, and therefore we're giving it a running head start and building lots of volume and connections. And so I asked him, and I've asked a couple of other people, but he has the name recognition. I don't want to quote him exactly without his permission, but the spirit of what he said was, we asked, why is it that some people have failed in confronting community schools and others have succeeded? And he said, well, if you look at the Great Lawn, we had 400 angry people there, and they did not want to face that. So extrapolating from that, numbers are very important to us. And we thank you first for passing a resolution, and Cheryl for all the work she's done, but then what can you do to help deliver more numbers? We're out pounding the pavement, we're out getting more signatures. We're working with Gene, we'll work with others in other places and so forth. But if any of you are interested or have ideas about bringing in bulk orders, whole groups, or letting us speak to them, or whatever ways you see to increase the numbers, that is a major strategy. We also want to avoid all disinformation. For example, that we're opposed to Kamehameha schools. I'm an educator. I love schools. I've been over to Kamehameha, I have friends there, their children there. Many of us, we're not against teachers, we're not against anyone. We want to make it very clear. We just know how development works. That's a different wing of what we're talking about. Similarly, has been concerned about, are we trying to block affordable housing? Are we trying to keep out a particular race or something like that? No. Densification, no matter what people are in it, male, female, whatever, racial background, whatever, densification and urbanization bring greater crime, bring greater pedophilia, bring greater drugs, bring greater weapons into any area. There are variations depending on the demographics, but we know not only from research, common sense, that any kind of densification and urbanization is harmful in the long run. So that is our concern, not any particular group, and we're keeping anyone out. And I think any kind of misinformation is coming from people who are representing and who are very clever with development. We've seen developers, they plant people in the community, they plant disinformation. The truth of the information is we love the sanctity of the valley. We love the fact that we don't want to be like LA and Lahaina and have people trapped. If there's a major fire back there, there would be only 2 egresses. Can you imagine what it would be like to have 400 more cars there and so on? People don't think through the implications. The implications could be very, very difficult. And that would be the negative. That would be the negative. So we're all for the positive. Help us build numbers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Greg, you have your hand up, and then Senator Lee, you have your hand up to follow Greg.
Okay, yeah, I had a chat posting that gives a link to the C3 zoning. So it gives a lot of detail on what's permitted and what isn't permitted without a closer reading of it, because it's quite a long list, but I didn't see anything relating to grocery stores or something of that nature. But I think what was presented is really advisable to try and maintain the property as it is, use the existing facility and its landscaping. But anyway, of course, a grocery store would entail mostly a fairly large building surrounded by parking. From what I did read there, it says the current height limit for C3 zoning is 65 feet. So anyway, everyone should look into that in more detail.
Thank you, Greg. Senator Lee, go ahead, your comments.
Yeah, thanks very much. I apologize, I missed the first part of the discussion when the property itself was brought up. But looking at it, and this is slightly outside of, I think the course of the conversations that we've had on our end so far on the state side, one of the things we've been looking to do is invest dollars into land acquisition to keep, specific parcels of land in the public trust, so to speak, in various places, which we've done over the last few years at a number of different sites. But the state is also looking for sites for things like charter schools and other public purposes that kind of fit depending on the situation. So, this year in particular, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on, and that might be one of the avenues that both aligns with where the state is looking to invest some dollars, plus meeting some of the goals that we're currently grappling with, plus meeting, I think, some of the community's comments that are being raised here. So I throw that out there just to open up a discussion, not for right now, but for the coming months or what have you. And maybe there's an avenue there that hasn't been explored yet.
All right, thank you. Seeing no other hands raised, we're going to be moving along. I wanted to let everyone know that I have received some information on the new boat ramp maintenance, dredging, and improvements. So if anybody is interested in taking a look at that permit application, it's a conservation district use application. And it's very lengthy, but I have it here if people want to take a look at it. All right, we're going to be moving on to our officials' reports, starting with the mayor's representative, Amy Asselby. I know you're online. Thank you for being with us. Go ahead.
Aloha, board members. Thank you for some time tonight for being able to respond to some of the questions. One of the first things that the mayor's team asked me to share was that for the first time, the city is seeking Ocean Safety Commission candidates. As you know, the Ocean Safety Department was separated out from Emergency Services. And so as a part of being a new agency, they are establishing a commission. So I just wanted to, if people are interested, they can contact mdoffice@honolulu.gov. Again, it's mdoffice@honolulu.gov. Some of the eligibility requirements are rather specific, but generally, to be on the commission, you have to live in the city and county of Honolulu and be a registered voter. On top of that, you need expertise in one or more of the following areas. And that is open water, life-saving, and public safety services, marine conservation and environmental science, community education and outreach, ocean water sports and recreation, risk management and injury prevention in a dynamic aquatic environment, emergency management and disaster preparedness, or intimate knowledge of the city charter pertaining to the Ocean Safety Division. So they're still looking for candidates. It's open till the 31st, which is right upon us. I will drop the email if anyone is interested and the information into the chat online. But again, that's a near-term thing if you want to apply. I know folks there are also dealing with neighborhood board elections at the same time. So thank you for your engagement in public service. To respond to some of the issues last requested, this looks like a really old request back from board member Wolf. It says April 25th, 2023. So I'm not sure what happened here, but there was a request to conduct a speeding survey on Hawaiʻi Drive, focusing in front of the Hawaiʻi Plaza at 6770 Hawaiʻi Drive. So DTS said they would conduct a traffic study, etc., and they finally completed that. So here is how they responded. And they apologize for the belated response. They can, DTS presently controls speeding through the area with the posting of proper signage and enforcement by HTD. DTS's field inspection confirmed that the signs on Hawaiʻi Drive at this location are visible, appropriately placed, and in good operational condition. A speed study confirmed that motorists are exceeding the posted 25-mile-per-hour speed limit in both directions. DTS has requested the assistance of the HPD to monitor for speeding at this location. A review of the area's traffic collision history within the past 3 years did not indicate any conditions, trends, or unusual circumstances. However, DTS would like to work with the community to determine if other traffic controls are appropriate for Hawaiʻi Drive. Please be advised, DTS is currently in the process of hiring a consultant to help study this corridor further. So it looks like there'll be further updates from DTS. I have 3 more updates. So there's a very long update on e-bike regulations. The question was from board member Alton about what are the laws and regulations related to e-bikes, and can these laws and regulations be enforced? HPD had a longer explanation, which also included that they're working with DTS on some legislation. But I think the DTS response is a little bit more detailed. So I'll read that for you. E-bike laws on Oahu are similar to current bicycle laws. In particular, persons under the age of 16 must wear a helmet when operating a bicycle on public streets, paths, or public property, and cannot be operated on sidewalks in business districts and Waikiki. Specifically for e-bikes, you must be at least 15 to operate the device, and the bike must be registered to an adult household member. Given the numerous types of e-bikes available, the City Council is proposing Bill 52. That will define what an e-bike is and what can legally be operated on public roads. The bill will define an e-bike under 3 classes and regulate that the electric motor cannot exceed 750 watts, and the motor cannot provide assistance to the operator when its speed exceeds 20 miles per hour. An e-bike that does not meet this requirement cannot be registered through the city, and hence cannot legally be ridden on public streets, sidewalks, etc. Additionally, Bill 61 would prohibit persons from performing stunts, the wheelies that were discussed, for example, when operating an e-bike, moped, or motorcycle on public roadways. Furthermore, passage of these bills will revise the current Honolulu Traffic Code and assist HPD with enforcement. I hope that was helpful. And there's 2 bills, Bill 52 to define the e-bike, and Bill 61 is the prohibition on stunts on public roadways. So if you want to check the City Council agenda for the status of those bills. There was a question about homeless encampment at Joe Lukela Beach Park, and trying to summarize a fairly long update, but between December 11th and 17th, 2024, HPD officers on the night watch monitored Joe Lucella Beach Park at various times between 10 p.m. and 12 a.m. and did not observe any violations during their checks. So that's a 7-day period. The city is mandated to give the homeless a 24-hour notice before conducting enforcement operations. So that means generally that's enough time for if anyone's there to clean up and leave the area. I'm sure we're all familiar with the closure hours at Joe Lucella Beach Park, which is 10 p.m. until 5 a.m. And that's basically it. The HPD works within those enforcement parameters. DPR said on December 9th that they conducted an inspection by their superintendent and no homeless were found in the park. The SPOs, I guess the stored property ordinance sweeps are currently suspended until January 2025. So at that time, DFM and HPD will be notified if there are any new homeless encampments in the park so that enforcement can be conducted. That was the DPR update second. Two last questions on Hanauma Bay. What is the status of the transportation concession? A new contract at Hanauma Bay. The city is currently evaluating responses from potential permittees for the pilot program. Once the evaluation is complete and a permit is awarded, the city will be able to provide a more detailed update. Throughout the pilot program, the city aims to collaborate with the community to identify and implement best practices. And then finally, what is the status of the RFP for education services at Hanauma Bay? And Department of Parks and Recreation said the current contract with the University of Hawaii Sea Grant Program runs until April 30th, 2025. The request for proposals is currently with and in process at the Department of Budget and Fiscal Services. And that concludes, sorry, a kind of long report tonight.
Thank you, Amy. Questions? Yes, Paige and then Ilse.
Hi, Amy. Thank you so much for your report and thank you for all the information, e-bikes and everything else. Two things. First of all, thank you to you and to Jillian and to Rep Ward for your attention to the emergency siren for my district. The side of Cocoa Head, I don't remember the number of that siren. And to getting that in the works to get repaired. I understand it's 2 months away or something like that. So I'm hoping there's no emergency before that. I think the residents in my district are frustrated with that. And the ones that I've spoken to and I've told that this is an ongoing issue and that it is being looked at and that repairs are being considered are grateful, but anything you can do to maybe expedite or anybody you can talk to maybe expedite those repairs would be great, since it's a emergency siren and it would be good to have it if there's an emergency. The other thing is I wanted to know what the status is of the monies that the mayor promised to Cocoa Head Stables and when they are going to be receiving those monies and what the status is of the city's involvement with the repairs and the demolition of the buildings over there.
Okay, I will request an update on the status of the Cocoa Head stable repairs. And then the emergency siren repair, that is an issue for the state. So hopefully if the state rep is here, they can help with moving along the timeliness of the repairs.
Thank you.
Other questions? Oh, Ilse, go ahead.
Amy, thank you for all the information. I have some questions about Cocoa Head District Park. The first one is about these trash bags which were thrown over the rim of the escape. It's not the escape, about next to the road from the park to Hanoma. We were told that they're aware of that and they were going to be removed. Well, they're still there, and it's, I don't know how many months later. So there's a number of trash bags on the downside from that road, and that comes from when they were mowing last year and stuck all the grass into black trash bags. That was the first one. The second one, I would just want to bring up one more time the concern about the bike, the area where they do biking, because there is a lot of erosion which comes with that. And I'm just wondering, as this was a previous military site of high military activity during the war, if anybody has ever tested the soil for chemicals and pollutants. Because if with this erosion, and especially children riding bikes on there, they will certainly inhale the dust.
So the
Okay,
trash,
so you're
the
gonna
trash
just,
bags are along Kalanianaole Highway by Hanauma, or where exactly?
No, the trash packs are along the road, which is between the shooting range and Cocoa District Park, and goes from the district park towards Hanoma. So it's that little side road up there for walking only unless it's an authorized vehicle.
Got it.
okay, so two things, Amy, that you're gonna follow up on per Ilse's concerns. Okay, and Herb,
Yes.
you have your hand up, go ahead.
Thank you, Amy. I have asked for the boundaries for the Jolukela Beach Park, and the reason I asked for that was because the homeless encampments were closer to the road, but on the guardrail side of the park, and it looks like it's cleared up. So I just just wanted to know, is there a document that shows where the boundaries are of the park? Otherwise, I appreciate the officers, but they're actually the ones that told me that that area was not park. So just a follow up on the map I requested a couple of times. Thanks.
Okay. So I don't know what happened with that one. The map for the beach park to basically identify, to understand if where there has been homeless encampments is a part of the Jolukela Beach Park. Yep.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Cheryl, you have a comment or question?
She answered the questions that we submit, or comments that we submit in this white form.
No, she doesn't. You have to read it so that she knows what it is.
Well, I did submit one last meeting in November, and it was about whether the city was going to clean up this drainage canal that runs parallel to Hawaiʻi Street, because I see that we have a forest starting to grow down there. Lots and lots of bushes are starting to grow. And especially now with this big storm coming up, I'm wondering if the vegetation has been cleared so it doesn't get stuck at the very end or cause the drainage canal to overflow. Because we all remember, those of us that lived here, I didn't, but my husband did, back in the 80s when you had that New Year's Eve flood. And it just tore up Hawaiʻi Street. So how are we going to get out of the valley if that happens again?
What is the location of the drainage canal?
It runs all like parallel to Hawaiʻi. You know, it might be behind a row or two of homes. but it's straight down from the mountains right out to the waters, the lagoon, whatever, marina area. And right under Hawaiʻi Drive. So it could cause a lot of damage if that drainage canal is not kept clear. Especially soon, since we're expecting a big storm this week.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know that they'll be able to get to it since it's supposed to storm tomorrow, but I will submit the question, the request, and you can also do that yourself.
I did.
If you go to 311 online, there's both an app and an online portal, and you can submit a request for a variety of city services and concerns, whether it's signage or, certain issues with roads or things like this drainage canal being overgrown. So if you just look up, like in search for 311 in Honolulu, and you'll find the webpage. And
So
then you can
these
submit
things
a
are no
request.
good? I mean, I showed up at.
No, I'm just telling you there's other ways to always to submit those requests and get them input in the system that way too.
Do you want your duplicated requests?
Duplicate requests are fine.
Yep.
Go ahead, Sam.
Thank you for the report. Would you be able to check with DFM on the frequency of the maintenance of that drainage canal along Hawaiʻi Street? Just to see, because if it is quite overgrown, then maybe the frequency needs to be shortened. And then also regarding the traffic study in DTS, you mentioned that there's an opportunity for the community to provide input. What would be the best way for the community, or is there going to be some sort of publicized avenue for concerned residents to contact DTS within that study period?
I will inquire and probably have more information, as you mentioned, once they get a contractor hired or consultant hired to work on that. But I'll submit it as a follow-up to that, those next steps. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Amy. You have a lot of homework to do. 2 months worth, I guess. All right, we're moving on to City Council Chair Tommy Waters' office. Representative is Amanda Zepeda. Go ahead, Amanda.
Aloha, good evening, Chair and Board. Happy New Year, everyone. Amanda Zepeda here again on behalf of City Council Chair Waters. Really quickly, I'll just speak to the previous two questions regarding Hawaiʻi Drainage Canal. Department of Facility Maintenance is currently working in Wailupe Stream, and after that, they'll be in Kuli'o'o, and then after that, they'll be in Hawaiʻi. So it is probably going to be several more months before they actually start on the regular maintenance schedule, but they are currently out there assessing our streams and drainage ways ahead of this week's storm and following last weekend's storm. So they are sort of doing quick assessments to just determine where the priority areas are and where sort of emergency work needs to happen to address the most egregious risks. So that's happening. And then for the DTS proposal for the road diet on Hawaiʻi Drive, that email will be completestreets@honolulu.gov for the feedback. As Director mentioned, we don't have like a complete plan yet to show But when we come to that point, our office will be requesting a presentation from Department of Transportation Services to talk more about that proposal so that you do have an opportunity to sort of weigh in with more informed feedback. So we'll be following up on that issue as well. The only other community update I had was the commercial trailer, which we already discussed. So I'll just go through some legislative updates. Tomorrow we have our first full council meeting of the year. And I'll post the agenda and some other information in the chat here shortly. But we do have several measures I just want to highlight quickly for third reading, up for third reading and adoption tomorrow. We have Resolution 25-1, adopting the Vision Zero Action Plan. Resolution 25-2, urging the Hawaiʻi State Legislature to adopt legislation that would create a universal free school lunch program. Resolution 25-3, CD1, reaffirming the city policy that municipal solid waste landfills should not be located in proximity to underground drinking water sources. We have Resolution 24-256, CD1, granting a special management area major permit for a new single-family dwelling unit at 6973 Kalanianaʻole Highway. Bill 19, 2024, FD1, CD2, relating to housing, establishing a resident preference in the city's housing programs, and Bill 52, 2024, relating to e-bicycles, as Director Asabai had mentioned. That is up for tomorrow. If you do have a moment to take a look at that and submit testimony, you still have an opportunity to do so. For second reading items, we have Bill 24 to adopt the revised primary urban center development plan. And for first reading highlights, we have Bill 5, 2025, relating to animal recovery, addressing farm animal control. And Bill 7, 2025, relating to the fire code. This one addresses fireworks use and violations. And just because I know we've had a lot of discussion on that tonight, I just kind of wanted to go over that quickly, if I might. So this Section 20-6.9 of the revised ordinance of Honolulu is what's being amended by this bill. It currently says any person violating this article shall be sentenced to a fine of not less than $250 and not more than $2,000, or by imprisonment of not more than 1 year, or by both such fine and imprisonment. And so what this council is proposing to do is to increase that to not exceeding 5 years, a fine of not less than $1,000, and not more than $10,000. And so it's a very short bill. If you're interested in reading that and supporting it, we'd love to hear from you. Again, this is a first reading measure, so if you don't have time to get to it tonight and submit your testimony by tomorrow, there will be additional opportunities for public hearing and testimony. And then I just wanted to mention quickly during this month's committee meetings, we had several, I think, important and interesting informational briefings. We did have one on fireworks this month in the Committee on Public Safety and Customer Services. I thought that was a really good discussion on fireworks if you're interested in hearing more about that. We have an update from DPP on transient vacation rentals and B&B. There's a video posted for that one. And we have an update from the Office of Housing on the city's housing plan. So I'll stop there, and I'll be happy to take any other questions if I can.
All right, questions for the council chair's office? Elizabeth?
Yes, thank you. Amanda, um, about a year ago, your office was very helpful with helping with a home in Mariners Cove that had a lot of overgrowth and was like a real fire hazard. Um, and so between the city and your office, the resident was contacted. Nobody's living there. The place was cleaned up. The resident put a fence up and there's nobody there. And everything is growing back and it's creating a hazard for people to walk on the sidewalk. And then within the property, inside of a fence, is all this stuff growing back and it becomes a hazard for the two neighbors. So I was going to ask perhaps if I reach out to you, maybe we could work on this again or contact the homeowner. Obviously, they're an absentee homeowner and the property just sits there vacant. And I thought I'd
Yes,
contact you before it got too much
absolutely.
more
Thank
out of
you. Let's
hand. Okay.
exactly. Let's start now before it gets too crazy. Thank
Thank
you.
you kindly. Thank you. Okay.
Paige?
Hi, Amanda. Thank you for your report. I just have a quick question. The bill that you mentioned regarding the illegal fireworks, is that Chair Waters' bill?
It's not. It was introduced jointly by Councilmember Kiaina and Councilmember Okimoto from
Is
the
there
Public
any,
Safety.
do you have any idea or can you speak to how they came up with the fine format for that bill?
That's a good question. I don't offhand, but after tomorrow, I'll listen to the discussion and I'll be able to provide an update.
Thank you. Just as a perspective, my neighbor spent $10,000 on fireworks this year. So a $250 fine is a joke. So, I mean, I'm just curious if the cost that people are spending on fireworks is a factor in the fine process. And I think that it should be because that's like telling people that going 90 in a school zone, that your fine's only going to be, $100. If they're going 90 in a school zone, they probably don't care about $100 ticket. So I'm just curious how the fine measurements, how they come up with the fine dollar amounts. And as far as a cap on those fines, unless there's a state statute or something that says that there has to be a cap on the fines, I don't think there should be a cap on the fines. Just
Okay.
my opinion.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. We appreciate it. And I just want to clarify that we agree with you that $250 is a joke. And that's what it currently is. And this bill is proposing to increase that to not less than 1,000 and up to 10,000. But I'll definitely get some more information on how those numbers were determined, and I'll relay your comments about there not being a need for a cap.
Question from Joel?
Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. This is Joel Brilliant. I'd be curious as to why there's separate regulations regarding explosive devices and fireworks. Seems like one is minimized in its severity and the other is acknowledged as being a lot more serious. And as we've noticed and experienced in the last year, so much of these fireworks are really not toys and games, but almost war level explosives that do the same type of damage and killing. I'm wondering if that cannot be combined in regulations to give it the severity that maybe we need, and also include the fines that Paige is suggesting, which I certainly agree with.
Thank you for that. Yes, and I believe that there are current definitions in our ordinances to specific types of fireworks, consumer fireworks, firecrackers, different levels of fireworks. So I think maybe we need to take a look at changing some of those definitions, because we agree with you. We're definitely deeply concerned about what we're seeing, the trend in the way with which we're moving, and we definitely want to address it. So
All
thank you.
right. Thank you, Amanda, for your report. I would really appreciate if you would drop some of your notes in an email to me so that I can be sure to note
Sure.
some of the things that you've reported on tonight. All right.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anybody from Governor Josh Green's office? All right. I'm not sure that anybody has been assigned yet to our neighborhood board. Anybody from Senator Stanley Chang's office? Okay. Senator Chris Lee, I know you're here. Go ahead.
Yeah, good evening. Well, first up, the legislature is back in session. We're at the early part of the process, so as is always the case, if folks have interest in tracking what's going on or have ideas for where things should go, by all means, do reach out and we can connect you. I still haven't even got through reading all the bills yet. There's 1,600 some odd Senate bills and probably just as much on the House side, so there's quite a bit there for you. But I wanted to highlight a couple things that I've introduced, either on behalf of folks from our communities who've asked for stuff, or as a matter of a number of the different discussions on various issues. The first is prohibiting ticket scalping for events, which is Senate Bill 1160, which would stop the bots and jacked up prices for resale and basically wiping out any chance regular people have of participating in things like that. The second one, Senate Bill 1035, similarly codifies some of the existing federal rules that are currently in place, which prohibit hidden fees and junk fees and things like that. That's been in place for a little while now, but we expect those are about to be rescinded at the federal level. So we want to lock that in locally to protect consumers and make sure folks aren't going to be price gouged. Obviously, there's a whole lot that can be said about fireworks. I've got a couple bills and there's a few others that will be coming through the committee I'm chairing this year, which is transportation, culture and arts, and obviously our ports, airports, and all those facilities and things like that are a part of that. It's not posted yet, but there's going to be a set of hearings on probably about 5 or 6 fireworks bills at least, maybe a little bit more, coming up on the 5th. That list will be out publicly and filed in the next, I'd say probably by the end of the week. So watch for that. Additionally, there's a bunch of stuff on affordable housing. I know many of our colleagues have been working on that. In particular, I think there's one bill we'll be hearing coming up here shortly, which will basically do a bunch of stuff to be able to cut off probably about $50,000 to $75,000 per unit for the cost of putting people into homes, which would be great. One of the measures that got held up last year because of the Maui fires and the budget situation would have wiped out all the unpaid medical debt for a lot of folks throughout the state that would otherwise never be paid off, and is basically a noose around the necks of a whole bunch of people, as well as our economy. And then just highlighting a couple others that have kind of been in the news a little bit. SB 1032, which I put in, would ban foreign influence in our elections and in our political process from corporations who throw money around kind of left and right to influence the process. That's a measure that's already in place in the state of Minnesota and is being considered by a few others, but obviously just as relevant here where we have a whole lot of outside influence. I have a bill to create a referendum process for the state that would be give the public a chance to weigh in on issues, but have protections built in that other states don't have, so that the legislature can basically put stuff on the ballot and pull what the public wants to do on various issues without risking the influence of what we're seeing in other states where big companies or others with vested interests one way or another, throw hundreds of millions of dollars at it in advertising and other things, and basically buy votes and distort the truth of what's being asked of communities. And then finally, the last two I wanted to touch on. One is Senate Bill 1163, which protects personal privacy and blocks companies from selling off people's data. So your cell phone location, like your actual location, which can be tracked online and sold, so people could buy that and track you in real time, which is actually happening. As well as eavesdropping, where phones or other things are basically silently listening to what's being said, and that data is being sold to third parties. And then finally, the last one deals with insurance, something which has been, really just painful for a lot of folks as prices have been going up with the cost of all the hurricanes and climate-related stuff and sea level rise and all those things. This bill basically would require insurance companies to go through the process that is happening elsewhere, where they're basically suing some of the larger fossil fuel companies for climate impacts, except that in other places, after suing, the insurance companies had pocketed a lot of those settlement dollars and other things, and then not pass those back on to the consumers who are the ones impacted. So this would basically funnel those dollars back into savings for regular homeowners and so forth. So anyway, there's a lot more there, but I wanted to highlight just those few to get started. And as I mentioned, we're just at the beginning of the process, so I expect a ton more to come up, but happy to answer any questions, and mahalo for everything you guys are doing.
Thank you, Senator. Are there questions for Senator Lee? No questions on our side, Senator, but we are very grateful that you are here tonight and are able to update us on what's coming down to the legislature for consideration.
Thanks very much. And the last thing, before I forget, I'd love to follow up with really whoever on the board / community has been working on the property issue that had come up that we chatted about earlier. I really do mean it when I say, we are looking at trying to find places for charter schools, especially. There are a few that are losing their campuses and kids are going to be out stuck. And also on our end, we're investing in both leases as well as acquisition of property in various places. So those things are kind of real options. So I'd love to pick up the conversation later on. But mahalo.
Okay, we do have one comment from Elizabeth. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's your birthday, and extra thanks for being here.
Oh, yeah.
So happy birthday.
Oh, appreciate it. Mahalo.
Happy birthday, Senator. Thank you for being here with us tonight.
No problem.
All right.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Jean Ward's office. Jillian.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Jillian. I'm Representative Jean Ward's Chief of Staff, and tonight I just wanted to give a brief overview of our latest newsletter. So this newsletter has gone out already via email to our distribution list, and will be getting to all of your physical mailboxes by the end of the week. But like Senator Lee just did, we just wanted to give some highlights of our bill package, as we really did try to make this reflective of many of the issues that Hawaiʻi is facing. So the first topic is tackling the condo insurance crisis, and this is going to be a major priority this year in the legislature. But Representative Ward has introduced two bills regarding this. The first is House Bill 285, and this proposes to create a refundable tax credit to help offset the high cost of insurance premiums for owners. Secondly, we've also introduced House Bill 885, and this would require insurers to offer discounts to condo associations who take action to reduce their building's risk, conduct maintenance, and upgrades. Secondly, our priority is going to be addressing our electric grid shortfalls. That's all too sadly something that we just experienced this week and possibly in the next few days as well. So we also have two bills for this. The first is House Bill 513, And that's to help incentivize people who have solar systems to also add battery storage systems or to create solar and battery systems in order to decentralize from the grid and to have some self-sufficiency as it comes to electricity resilience. And finally, we have House Bill 1418. And this is the result of some inquiries that we got from constituents, primarily who have T-Mobile for their cell phone service. And they found that during extended blackouts that they were also losing cellular service. And obviously that's a big safety concern. We got in touch with T-Mobile as well as the Public Utilities Commission and confirmed that they do rely on our grid. And if we have extended outages, they can lose service. So this bill would require these entities to have battery backup so they can extend their ability to provide cell service during long outages. Secondly, I just wanted to bring attention that our 2025 session survey is out. It's currently available on Rep. Ward's website, which is jean-ward.com. It'll also be in this physical mailer that you receive, so feel free to fill that out and send that back to us. It has some of the main topics that are going to be discussed this legislative session, which will really help Representative Ward best represent you. And it also touches on some community topics, including some of the issues with Kamehameha schools. And lastly, I just wanted to provide that update regarding the siren. So Siren OA 101 that services the Portlock area has been down for a couple of months. Our office has been in contact with our state Hawaii Emergency Management Agency, and we are happy to report that as of January 10th, we were told that it will be repaired within 60 days. We told Taima that this is a big priority for us, and they communicated that to the contractor. So hopefully by the next meeting and at the latest in March, we'll be able to report that all in Hawaii Kai have access to working sirens. That concludes my report. So if there are any questions.
Thank you, Jillian. We do have a question or comment from Elizabeth.
Yes, thank you, Jillian. Thank you so much for moving forward on that T-Mobile or cellular one. I mean, that should be a no-brainer for it to pass, because it is so important that we have cellular service when we have these incidences. So thank you so much for that. And then I just publicly wanted to thank you. You have been on the receiving end of requests that I'm on issues that I'm working on. And you've been just absolutely brilliant and extremely responsive. So I publicly wanted to say thank you for always being responsive when I reach out regarding certain issues that your office is still helping with. So thank you.
It was our pleasure.
Any other questions for Jillian? Yes, Paige.
Jillian, thank you so much for your attention to that siren for Subdistrict 11, which is actually Portlock Road and the Mauna Lua Triangle, Kokokai. And I do appreciate your diligence on that, because without you and Rep, we wouldn't have a siren. I mean, I'm grateful for all the work you did on it. It would be great if they could actually expedite this and that they could treat it as an emergency situation. I know they're not. But I just want to say thank you to you and Rep, because without your attention to it, I'm afraid we'd probably still be waiting for it. So thank you again for that.
Of course, and what we did find is that this seems to be systemic, that there's dozens of sirens that are currently inoperable. So we're happy that we're finally on the radar and we are having the work being done as we speak. So
thank you.
All right, comment, question from Tom.
Thank you. Hi, Jillian. It's Tom. I was negligent.
Hi.
Thank you. Negligent in not thanking you, and thank Representative Ward, because you've signed the petition. You've encouraged us to go online with the petition. And I want to reciprocate by saying everybody should read the article that is in your current newsletter called KSBS. KSBS. Very supportive of what we're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jillian. Have a good
Thank you.
night.
Have a great evening.
Okay, Representative Mark Hasham's office. We have, is it Jane?
Yes,
Taylor?
that's me. Yes.
Hi, Jane.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Chair. And thank you, board members. This is my first meeting representing Representative Mark Hasham. I am his legislative aide for my second year. So I don't have a prepared report, but I can see that you are in very capable hands with Rep. Jean Ward and Senator Lee. I have great respect for both of them. We are this year the chairs of the Water Land Committee. So a lot of very interesting bills are passing our committee. Some ocean permit bills, HB 123, which you may or may not want to take a look at. But I did just want to quickly address the fireworks concerns because there's a bill, HB 414. It doesn't have a hearing schedule yet, but it was introduced by Speaker Nakamura. And if you could go onto the website, or no, I'm sorry, if you could just call her office and say that you would really like to get this bill heard, that will help expedite getting it onto a hearing notice. I think they just need to know that everyone is concerned about this. The Senate companion that I was looking at for that bill is SB 302, and I know Senator Lee mentioned several bills that are coming across his desk as well. So just so you know, there is a lot of talk and concern regarding this issue. And that's it, except if you have any concerns or needs, please don't hesitate to reach out to our office. I can put the number and the email in the chat, and if anyone has any questions.
Are there any questions for Jane from Representative Mark Hasham's office?
No, but thank you for participating.
Yes, Jane, we really appreciate that you're here.
Oh, thank you.
There's been no representative from Representative Hasham's office all last year. So if you could come regularly, that would be wonderful. I think just listening in to some of the concerns being voiced by the community members and board members would help you to get a feel for what's happening out in this area.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the warm welcome.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Are there any representatives from our congressional team? Nobody online. Okay, we're going to be moving on to our board business. First on our agenda was an update on the Kaiwi Coast Scenic Byway. And we did have a report earlier about the vehicles that are parked at Vavamalu Beach and also in other areas, I guess, along the Kaiwi Coast. So hopefully that there will be follow-up by District 7 HPD, and we'll have Reese Liggett kind of check on whether or not there is follow-up on that. Any other comment about the Kaiwi Coast? Yes, Elizabeth.
I just want everybody to know that I'm staying very vigilant as it relates to the windmills in the Kaiwi Channel. There's been a recent pause coming from the new presidential administration on all that type of alternative energy. I'm looking at it for us here in Hawaii as it relates to the Kaiwi Channel as an opportunity to do additional research. And I'll continue to reach out to BOEM and see if I can get them to come out as they had promised to do an East Honolulu talk story as they did in Waimanalo. So just thought I'd share that with you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you for maintaining that vigilance. Update on Camilo Nui Valley agriculture. I do not have any updates. Does anybody else have anything that they'd like to share? Elizabeth, go ahead.
Just two things. One is Kamehameha Schools is reaching out to the different leaseholders, which is a good thing. And then the other, just for whoever is interested in knowing, with this recent rain bomb, the amount of water that's come down through the back of the valley. I have video footage of it, and I'll share that with Kamehameha Schools or anybody else that's interested. It is quite tremendous. Just amazing amount of water that could be harvested and put to better use instead of rushing down the back and soil erosion and eventually making its way into the marina. But just thought I'd let you know that there's a really unique resource back there with water. But anyway, we'll see what happens in the future with Camilo Nui, and I just wanted to share that little bit of update.
Thank you. Yes, I think everybody noticed that the merino was chocolate colored the day after the storms. Okay, the third item under board business is the proposed project to pave the dirt parking lot at Sandy Beach. And resident Nick Minas is here to explain that project. And board, I think we need to take some kind of action to let Nick know whether we support this effort or not, so that he has some idea of whether the neighborhood board is behind this. Go ahead, Nick.
Thank you, Chair Mayor, board members. So after last meeting, took all the comments into consideration and submitted another design, trying to show that the idea is still a viable one. It does provide less parking, but also provides significantly more green space. The whole project was originally thought about because of the dirt lot and in particular the rocks that were in place and being spread around when cars were doing donuts on the dirt lot. Speaking of the rain, I was there at the beach today. The dirt lot itself is pretty well packed. Problem is all those rocks are now in the parking spaces. So this idea to improve the lot, put in barriers, create some parallel parking, and at the same time eliminate this rock issue, which has been an issue for a long time. People have talked to me about it. They've done some kind of proposals in the past, but basically never got to this point. I'm representing all of them for their efforts, hoping to give them some good news. We've had some really good support from Chairman Waters' office and their staff. Good support from people who are working on the area that are down at the end of the lot, which has been radically improved and it's very nice. New trees have been planted there. They are also in favor of that. They'd like to see this project done, to see the green space expanded, see the rocks removed, to see the area improved. We're talking about a world-class body surfing, bodyboarding area. That's a great gathering spot. But right now, it doesn't look that way. So this proposal was basically something to be considered, and I'm hoping that the board will do that.
Questions and comments? Yes, Sam and then Paige.
Well, I would just like to make a motion that we support this proposal.
All right, we have a motion proposed. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Chelsea. Discussion? Go ahead, Paige.
So you did revise this. I have some questions. So it looks like there are going to be telephone barriers, right?
To duplicate what's already in the grass on the other side of the access road. There's a telephone barrier there that separates Kalani Aiole from the park itself. So I'm pretty much taking what's.
Well, this is a metal railing. This is a railing on the street, a guardrail.
Right. So what you see there, where I'm saying telephone pole barriers.
That's this.
In the dirt pile.
So these are the telephone barriers.
Telephone barriers are represented by the brown lines. Sorry, you're in a black.
Okay.
Nick,
Yeah,
if
it's
you'd
black
like
and
to
white,
come
I'm
up, you
sorry.
can come up
Yeah.
to the screen and point it out.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So anything between the blue and the green lines, that's all green, right? That's all green space. So you're only gonna have 13 cars parked there. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, so between the green and blue and the green and blue and the green and blue, that's all grass area.
So
And
what I
then-
did here is I physically went down, took a long tape measure to find out how long the space was between the current asphalt and the guardrail. But knowing that we've got telephone poles at each of these places made a logical place for me to think about stopping to create a green space with a barrier. At the same time, allowing space, parallel parking with that barrier, not as many spaces that people would like to see, but at least providing some parking. Not having to put as much asphalt, which I recall you making a statement about, so I appreciate that input, which gave me the idea to do a parallel parking as opposed to perpendicular.
Okay, so the area between the blue and green and the blue and green and the blue and green,
Yes,
that's all green space.
green space.
Okay, and then where it's obviously where it's horizontal, those are all
Parking.
parking.
spaces.
Okay, so parallel parking.
Correct.
And then the spot at the end where
Yes.
you're saying that's turnaround?
So my thought was because these cars are now all parking
Right.
parallel, it's going to be difficult to have cars get in and out there. So the easiest way to do that was have a turnaround zone.
And what's the square footage between, let's say, the back of that last car and the green and blue?
In this space,
No, one more over. Yeah, what's the square footage between the end of that and the back of that car?
so I've got a
No, no, no,
35-foot space.
No,
from the guardrail here, but 20 feet.
not that. The back of the car.
Okay,
No,
back
bring your finger down.
here.
Bring your finger down.
Here.
Bring your finger down. There you go. The back of that car right there. There's a car
Okay. Oh,
right
correct.
there. The back of that car and where they're going to be parallel parked. How much
So-
space is right there?
The parallel parking stops here. So there is nothing behind this parallel.
No,
this
that's not what I'm asking. What is the square footage? How,
I didn't measure that.
Okay.
I measured to the point where it's from the guardrail.
okay, so there could be
Down to-
3 feet between the back of that car and where they're parallel parking.
Currently, there's an access road there. So whatever the width of the access road is. So 20, 25 feet.
Okay.
Plus the additional dirt space.
Okay, that's not what I was
I
asking.
I
That's-
know you're asking for square footage. I didn't measure that out. Yeah. Oh, so you're talking about the individual parking spaces.
Back of this car.
Yes.
Where's this to the back of that? What is-
So that's the access road. So that's probably about 20 to 25 feet.
So this is 20, 25 feet.
Correct.
Stop them from being in front.
Signage. You're asking them, I'm already asking them to give up a lot of parking space. But at the same time, I'm trying to consider people having access to get in and out. And obviously, emergency vehicles are going to need that kind of space to turn around. Yeah. Right now, fire trucks will come in reverse and then pull out straight because they don't have any other way to do it.
Okay, can a fire truck go in there and turn around?
I believe they can with this open space, yes. I was just measuring out how far it was from one end of the area to the other.
And does that? All the way up?
No, it's right here. So that's 35 feet from the barrier down to the light pole. Just the distance from barrier down to the asphalt paved area. Existing parking on the bottom, correct? Yes.
Ilse, and then Elizabeth, and then Greg.
So I have two questions. How many parking spaces are there now? I mean, I know there are crammed cars in there.
There
How
were-
many fewer you're going to have? And then the second question is, what's going to happen in this triangle between the red line and the parallel park car? Are there
Well-
going to people try to put more cars in there and actually park parallel again?
Once again, I'm hoping that we can mark these spaces, but I'm also expecting, because what's happening right now is that a lot of the cars come in and they actually cut this. So my guess is that's probably going to be filled in with asphalt just to make sure that's safe. Oh, and the number of parking spaces? I believe the answer was 22 because my original design when they were parking that direction was basically duplicating the number of spaces. So I've cut that down dramatically. I'm not law enforcement. You put up a sign and you can hope for the best.
Elizabeth?
Thank you. Thank you, Nick, for listening to our comments. I was one of the people that were anti-asphalt. I had thought at our last meeting that we were going to reach out to city parks. This is their area, and I'm uncomfortable with moving forward without their endorsement, or at least the city recognizing that this is something that they could get behind. Because the other thing I would ask is, do you happen to know how much the councilman was putting against this improvement? Or is this just a conceptual idea that you would like to have the neighborhood board to support, and then we have to track to see where it goes at the city level? I'm just kind of curious about that. That's why I thought it was really important that when we took action on this, the city parks would have been here or would have sent us some communication that they're aware of this and that they endorse it. Because it's really awkward and odd to vote for something on land that the city cares for and they're not here at the table. And I'm not saying that they wouldn't support it, and I personally like it, but it just seems odd not to have their endorsement of this.
I sort of do already. So when I initially sent this in for consideration, it went through a whole bunch of chains, got to Chairman Waters' office. His representative, Adam Dew, then reached out to me. And over the last 2.5 years, we've been communicating, and he's been giving me ideas about getting a petition, coming to the meetings, getting the board's recommendation.
Right, but
So
with all due
the answer to your
respect,
question, I guess, is I think I have that support
yeah,
from them.
so with all due respect, you've been working on it for 2.5 years, and I appreciate that. We've only learned about it late last year. And again, we're making decisions on city land that we have no idea how they're going to accept this. And I think that it would be stronger to have the city send us word that they endorse it. I don't think we could just go on the fact that the councilman says that it's a good plan. This is city land, and who's going to care for it after the fact? We have the one NGO that's caring for the area that you mentioned. Here we're asking the city to make these changes and improvements, but we don't have any group that's adopting it. The city has Adopt a Park programs all throughout the Kaiwi Coast, and they need community to help care for the Kaiwi Coast. So I'm concerned that effort and energy would go into this with the planting side, for instance, and then expect the city to maintain it when really it should be community helping them maintain it. And I don't know if you were thinking about Adopt a Park there, or we were going to ask Kahi Pakaro, who's doing the area that you spoke to include that in his area. And again, these are simple questions that we can get answered quickly from the city. But without them commenting on this, for me, it's very awkward, but I appreciate it. I like it, and I do support it. But I'm just missing that one piece relating to the city. That's
I
all.
completely agree with you. I would love to have seen more of my compatriots from the beach to come here and voice their opinions as well. I have been fortunate enough to have the contact with Chairman Waters' assistants. There was a budget that was a preliminary budget that was created. There was funding that was allocated towards it. It would be nice to have them here supporting me tonight and or the project as a whole and put it into print.
Okay, I'm going to take Greg's comment, and then I have a suggestion for how we can proceed. Greg, go ahead.
Yeah, I have trouble supporting any measure that reduces public access to public parks. By my estimate, it would be, currently it probably accommodates as many as 35 to 40 cars, and this would cut it down to just 13. I think the parallel parking design also makes it difficult to pull in and out. Even the car in the first position by the driveway would have to go to the turnaround zone in order to get out. And so that just increases traffic, which oftentimes is congested because of double parking and such too. So it's just not a very practical use of that space. Well, sometimes I, as an older resident, do find some of it a little hard to understand, but I also do recognize and appreciate sort of the youthful aura of Sandy Beach, and it just alters the whole atmosphere of that area. But most of all, I believe just by cutting down the number of parking cuts down the number of people that can use and enjoy Sandy Beach. The green space might be nice, but it's not really a practical area to develop or to create more just space. It's a kind of a buffer, I guess, but it's not really usable space. Now, toward the farther end on the left where the work is being done, that's going to be good for picnicking and, if the city could be supporting that, because this also would probably run into the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to really see it through. And that's just a waste of money when there are so many other park improvements that could be done. I see this as an answer to a non-problem. I mean, it just doesn't seem to really require that much attention right now. So I'm sorry, I do appreciate the work you've done. It does seem like it might have started with public input and community input more toward the beginning. I don't believe, too, that the route it's taken has can be assumed to be city support for this. The Parks Department definitely should have been involved with it as well. But all around, it just bothers me that it's limiting the use. A couple of years ago, we fought very hard to restore parking along the highway because that too just really prevented the public from enjoying the park. So it's very difficult. I would not be able to support something like this that makes it harder for the public to enjoy the park.
Joel?
I think your effort is excellent. It looks very, very nice. However, Parks and Rec will have to probably identify what the annual maintenance will be and if they can afford it. And that's going to be a big number.
Sure.
So I am not sure that this would really go forward. And I think they would have to lead it and champion it. And just a side comment, I've only been here for 7 years. I'm afraid local and tourists are not capable of parallel parking the way you've described it.
They're not very good at perpendicular parking either, as noted by the side of my car.
This really would be a comical challenge, and maybe result in a lot more damage than we would expect. But it's a nice idea. I think Park and Rec would have to really decide something that they like it, and however they design it, that they could afford it in the long haul. And I think that's something they'd have to initiate before we could say, yeah, we agree.
Okay, Sam?
Well, thank you again for coming back to the board. So a few of the points that were made. One, you have presented a petition with a significant amount of signatures of other beach goers. Many of them are, I'm assuming, are young people or working people. They don't necessarily have the time to come to these meetings and advocate, but they have done so through your petition. The way that the parking currently is, for any of the board members that are commenting on this, have you tried to park where it currently is? He's expressed some of the challenges that are there, but there are large rocks there. It is lawlessness. Cars get stuck there. They're trying to dig themselves out. You have rental car sedans that get stuck amongst the rocks and kicking it up amongst other people. There are no marked spots currently. The idea that it's limiting beach access is ridiculous, considering the quantity of parking in other areas of Sandy Beach as well. The green space is very needed, and considering the efforts of other Sandy Beach goers to revitalize the area and put native plants in, and they are welcoming this suggestion, I think would be fantastic and beautify that space as well. It is not going to come to fruition just because this board votes in support of it. The Parks and Recreation will need to review it as well and ultimately allocate funds along with Chair Waters, the installation of the telephone poles, the paving of that area. So just because we vote on it does not make it so. What we're doing is giving the support to this type of proposal, and then it can be refined further on by the decision makers and the people that have the money to do this. I think it's a fantastic idea to really clean up this area, to make it more beautiful, to put some order into the chaos that's currently there and make it safer. And I think we should be commending community members' efforts for working so hard to do this when there's a lot of people that agree that it's a problem, but, choose to not do anything about it. So, yeah, I think we should support it.
Chelsea?
I agree with Sam. One of the things that we can always use more of is some order and safety that's balanced with beauty and perhaps some curb appeal. I think the whole idea of voting on this is really a bottom-up thing that neighborhood board is supposed to do, so that we identify requirements and then we can fleet it up to those who decide to resource it or not. I think the second thing is we're not building a 30-story condo. We're talking about a parking lot with some asphalt and telephone poles and some greenery. And I think this is a pretty reasonable experimentation that we can do to see if it'll work and see if it'll take off.
Amanda, I'd like some information from you about what funds are available and whether or not the Department of Parks and Rec has been read in on these proposals.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the opportunity. First, I just want to thank Mr. Minas for coming tonight and for all of his effort and advocacy around this issue. I will just say that Chair Waters does generally support the idea and intent behind this proposed project. He has not made any endorsements on any specific designs or any of the details. But in general, he does see the value and the benefit of something like this for park users. What I will say to some of the discussion, and there's been a lot of really great points raised, I think, sort of on both sides. This is not a city or a DPR proposed project. This is a community proposed project. So you're not going to see DPR coming out and saying, "Hi, this is our project, please support us." This would have to be a community effort to say to parks, "We care about this project, please prioritize it. We support this for X, Y, and Z reasons." Chair Waters did put in $300,000 into the fiscal year 24 CIP budget. It's there. It could have been used if Parks wanted to use it. It could be used if Parks wants to use it. And we don't necessarily know, if it will cover the cost of the entire project, however it's finally designed. But what the department and many other departments really like to see with any type of community proposal like this is the board's backing. So it's not to say they will or will not support it with or without the board support, but it's definitely something that they recommend. And so I think it's up to the board to decide whether they do want to support a project like this and whether they want to ask the City Department of Parks to support a project like this. Parks has, I think 300 city parks, and they do have a list of park priorities, and this is not currently on it. And so they would have to reprioritize, and they may be open to do that. But it would be a conversation around what are your current priorities? If you want to see this project happen, how do we bump this up on your list of projects, priorities, and how can we support that?
All right, other comments? Paige and then Elizabeth.
So I neglected to say thank you to you because I did have a lot of input and questions about the last design that you had. I will say this, that I have probably spent more time at Sandy Beach than probably anybody on this board, both in and out of the water. And I wanted to just appreciate the fact that you heard me and you heard us as a board and our concerns, and you implemented that into the new design. And I just wanted to say thank you to that, because it's nice to feel like you've been heard. And I wanted to tell you that you have been heard, the community has been heard. And although I'm against any asphalt anywhere at this point in time, I'm really sick of it. But I do agree that, you know, if they can't park, whether it's parallel or perpendicular, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I think that over time that this design or any design that, not any design, but this design could work. I mean, and I appreciate it. So thank you. I did want to say.
Thank you very much.
Elizabeth?
Yes, thank you. So I'm just hoping that we could remember the great experience we had working with the city and community members about Vavamalu Beach. You know, and when you rope the city in and there's and the landowner, the DPR, and they're sitting at the table, we had those conversations about how to make this happen, where we found the boulders, how we didn't have to spend any money because we had different talented individuals come and support it, including the board. So that's the way I look at Kaiwi and its needs moving forward and this great project. So my thought would be that we have the city parks come out next month. We get to have that conversation. We had a great win with them with Vavamalu Beach, and we just say we want to do the same thing again. We'll put a bunch of talented people together to do this. How do we make it happen so that it doesn't not happen, so that it does happen and is cared for, so that it does happen and it doesn't include asphalt? We could make it happen, but just saying that the board is going to vote on it and then leave it for us to try and advocate for the city to prioritize it is not going to work. Inviting them over to talk about it, to hear what they have to say, and then the community with the neighborhood board, like we did with Vavamalu Beach, move forward on it. That's my preference, and that's what I'm hoping that we would consider at least.
Okay, if we take a vote tonight and we don't have sufficient numbers, Nick, then the issue is dead. So I'm wondering if the makers of the motion would be willing to defer action to the next meeting when we can ask Laura Thielen to come in and just let her know that we would like to see some kind of improvement at the beach parking lot. And it doesn't need to be that particular design. It could be a design in the development. And you know, after everybody maybe has a chance to weigh in. But maybe have a little bit more open discussion with the city. And I do like the suggestion that we do this as a community group together. But first of all, we have a motion on the floor. Sam made the motion, seconded by Chelsea. Do you want to proceed with the vote? No, seriously, I mean, do you want to proceed? You want to proceed? Okay, then we can take a voice vote and, you know, see where we go from there.
Yeah, I don't like the idea that if it fails, it's dead, because I think that there's a lot of potential to do something good here. I do think by having the neighborhood board vote on it, and if it gets supported, we can still bring the Director Thielen and other stakeholders to come and really refine what we've supported. But I think that would, I don't like the idea that it's now all or nothing.
What about maybe a straw vote?
Okay.
You know, I think that, you know, I get a sense that people want to support an improvement. There's some concern about the actual design. There's some concern about maybe the Parks Department, you know, not being more fully integrated into this whole process. There's some concern about whether we're eliminating actual access by diminishing the number of spaces. So I'm not sure that I would support it with all of these things. And I don't want it to die, I guess, is what I'm saying. So I'm wondering, we can kind of get maybe, my sense is that the board would like to support something, Nick. We appreciate your efforts and we would like to see some kind of improvement to that area. Whether it's asphalt, it might not be asphalt, it might be grading, you know, or some other kind of improvement. So I would like to invite the Director of the Department of Parks and Recreation to come to our next meeting. I will send her some of your pictures and designs and ask her if maybe she could come and discuss this with us.
Be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, I'll withdraw the motion and then let's hear from Director Thielen.
All right, we'll put it back on the agenda. We're not going to drop it. And
Can we have it as under presentations and?
sure, we can move it up earlier in the meeting, have it under presentations. And while there's still a lot of people in the audience, and you can present maybe more than just this design, maybe your initial design, then this design, and there may be other people who have other ideas.
And then try to get as many of the signature of
Yeah,
in your
you mentioned that you thought that most of those signatures were younger people. They actually were not. Most of the people were over 35.
Well,
They're the people that are there in the mornings, but I am. It's a short period.
they're probably asleep now, ready to charge the sunrise. So
So yeah, but most of the young people seem to come after we do. So we're usually gone by 11 a.m. and that's when the action really starts.
Yeah.
We like the peace in the morning.
All
Chair
right,
Mayor?
so, yes, go ahead, Elizabeth.
If I may, Nick, might you consider speaking to Kahi Pakaro, the group that's doing that other work? See if he's interested in the possibility of expanding his Adopt a Park section. And then also think about another group that may be interested in an Adopt a Park, because I'll tell you that would make things a lot easier. And I guarantee that's what Director Thielen is going to be asking. Do we have any takers for an Adopt a Park? Doesn't mean the burden is on that group, but it's about what happens, for 3 years afterwards, so to speak. So
Yeah,
just a
actually,
thought.
yeah,
Okay.
I agree. And I've actually spoke with Kahi and Philip. Philip is his partner.
Yes.
Is working on that area. He
Yes,
sent me a
okay.
very long email the other day. He was hoping to be here tonight, but unfortunately
Okay.
had other obligations.
Okay.
They both are in favor of it. He
Yeah.
also expressed difficulty that he's having trying to keep that area clear or clean and watered because they're
Right.
having to drag a hose 300 feet from the lifeguard tower.
Right.
So
right.
I
So
see
maybe-
that as
yeah.
part of the same problem that we would have in maintaining that irrigation space.
Correct. Yeah. So, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Roberta, I just wanted to ask, my concern was, can we get this issue and these plans and this stuff into the hands of DPR before the meeting? So she doesn't come to discuss something she hasn't really seen?
Right.
Yeah.
I
And
know,
then-
I intend to send her the material that Nick has shared with me with her.
Yeah.
And Chelsea, I'm sorry, I didn't ask you if you'd be willing to withdraw your second. Thank you, thank you. All right, so board members, we're not going to discard this effort. We do want to see whether or not we can maybe work together to flesh it out a little bit more and to get the city involved and maybe some other community groups
Thank
to
you for
work on it.
consideration. Appreciate it.
Nick, we appreciate all the work you've put into it, and I invite you back to make a presentation at next month's meeting.
I'll be here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on. I don't believe we had any board committees meet. And by the way, I am still looking for somebody to head up the Transportation Committee. And Sam, I might ask you again, particularly if DTS comes out and does a study of the corridor on Hawaiʻi Drive. So we'll see what happens with that proposal. Moving on to the approval of the regular meeting minutes. The minutes for November 26th were distributed. Are there any suggested revisions to the minutes? Seeing none, I'm going to be accepting those minutes as approved by the board with no objections. Any other board announcements? I do want to remind folks that last year we changed 2 sub-district seats to at-large seats. Those 2 sub-district seats go back to being sub-district seats, and that was sub-district 3 and sub-district 9. And our members of the Hawaiʻi community, I would like to remind you that sub-district 3 is a vacant seat for the Hawaiʻi Valley. So perhaps there's somebody who would like to apply as a candidate for that seat. I'm going into the closing announcements. The next regular meeting of the Hawaiʻi Neighborhood Board is on Tuesday, February 25th at 7 p.m. at the Hawaiʻi Elementary School cafeteria and on WebEx. Hawaiʻi Neighborhood Board regular meetings are cable cast on Olelo Channel 49 on the second Monday of the following month at 9:00 p.m. and repeating on that month's third Friday at 7 a.m. Videos of the meeting can also be seen online either at the olelo.org/olelonet or on the Honolulu Neighborhood Commission Office website. I want to thank everybody for being here. Happy New Year, Hungi Fat Joy, and we'll see you next month.